Hashem's Vasai Tiftach Lufi Agitol Sacha. We're now in the 17th and longest Perek of Shmuel Aleph. This Perek is going to be the famous story of David against Goliath. Now, the highlight of the story is that David was successful. He was able to battle the giant that was enormous, 9 feet tall, wearing full armor, and David, a mere shepherd, with 5 stones and a slingshot, was able to defeat the giant Goliath. But the question really remains, what's our takeaway? What are we supposed to glean? What is Shmuel Hanavi really deeply trying to impact on our lives about with this Perek, this very lengthy Perek? So let's get and understand that the Plishtim are on one side and Bnei Israel are on another side. And there is in the middle, there is a valley, and clearly there is a war that's about to be started. And the idea of this war is that the Plishtim are on one hill and the Israel are on another hill. And ultimately, that's the best position for the Bnei Israel to be in. We should never be mixed. There should always be a divide. That ravine, perhaps, that the Jewish people are stationed on an opposite hill, allows us to understand that anything can happen, and that this miraculous story is taking place with that backdrop. Now, there comes a man, and his name is Goliath, and he is from Gat, and he is huge. And not only is he huge, but he's wearing all this armor. And it's very clear that he not only has armor, but he has weaponry. And so the picture really is that it is weaponry against non-weaponry. Now, the idea by saying that this is a ish, there is a man, an ish. What is so significant about an ish? Because who really is the ish, right? The ish is Hashem, is ish milchama. What was Goliath's whole ideology? Was to try to chip away at our emunah and understand that it is not any other force, but the force that you can see, the force that you can understand, the brute, the obvious brute that is really significant, that wins the war. And so when you're describing the picture, you're describing everything in the greatest physical terms, in the grandest of all physicality. And so that really is going to be the contrast. But that ish is not just any person, but really someone who's trying to defeat our spiritual morale. And ultimately, what happens is, he says, I am the champion. Choose a person and to be able, like another ish, right? You think that you have your ideology? Vayered alai, no, you're going to come down against me. You think you're so high and mighty that you are the chosen nation, that Hashem takes care of you. You are about to go down. And if whoever wins, that will be your slaves. Lachem la'avadim. Right? The whole ideology is just one of trying to take away the relationship that we have with the Melech Malchei HaMelachim, and to use a different form of servitude. We'll be your slaves, you'll serve us. And so that's what Plishtim says. Get me a man and let me fight. Now, when everyone hears that, Vayishma Shaul, not just the Chol Yisrael, but Shaul, the king, hears this, Vayir Umod, and they're all afraid. Now, that is on the one hand. Now we're going to have in contradistinction, David HaMelech, who was anointed with a Keren Shemen, but he is not anywhere close to taking his role as a leader, as the king in its fullest form. But we're reintroduced to him. His father is Yishai, who has 8 children, and Shaul is getting older. Kind of just the narrator narrating what the situation really is. Now, 3 of those beautiful children of Yishai, had already started to fight. Remember, they are Anshe. Remember, Shaul takes all of the people that are the good warriors, the strong guys, the obviously strong. And he takes, and one of those people, remember, we thought was going to be ultimately be the king, and David, and actually, after he was thought, everyone was thought of, except for David. And David, what is David doing? So while David is the youngest, the oldest follows Shaul, and he's just a shepherd going back and forth in Beis Lachem. And when the Plishtim comes, what do? Vayigash ha-Plishti, this Plishti guy, Goliath, hashkem v'ha'erev, morning and evening, Vayitatzev 40 yom, and he stands for 40 days. What is the deeper significance? Well, Rabbi Rosner mentioned a very beautifully, deeply significant part, and that is the power of Kriyat Shema. We say Kriyat Shema b'shachvacha v'kumecha when you go to sleep, when you get up. The idea of Shema is that it has miraculous, powerful ways that is protecting. And so the Plishti, by trying to prevent morning and evening for the people, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to undermine their emunah. Vayitatzev 40 yom, and he stands there for 40 days. How does he have the goal? And where does he have the power to stand for 40 days? So here's another life lesson, and that is Hashem understands what's in our heart, and he knows everything. Nothing gets undervalued. And so if you go back in history to Orpah and Ruth, we know that Orpah, she walked with Ruth and ultimately followed Naomi for, some say 4 paces. And those 4 paces times 10 give you 40 in totality, and that's the 40 stands, that 40 days that he was able to stand against the Bnei Israel, because Hashem just remembers it all. And so even though her efforts didn't bear fruit, as we will review and repeat many a time, it is Hashem who brings the success ultimately, but it's our efforts that we bring. We bring effort, Hashem brings success. Sometimes, many times, our efforts are not successful, but that's not the point. The point is studying for an exam, not actually even taking it. The effort that we put into anything is how we're truly defined, and Hashem rewards her in kind. Now, Yishai tells David, go take all this stuff, all of the nourishment that you could give to your brothers, and carry it and bring it to the camp. He's the schlepper. And so he take the cheeses to the captain, find out how they're doing, just get me some, the es arubasem tikach. What is this token that you should take from them? So here is the basis for another midrash that says that everyone in the army of David had a get. They were all able to give their wives a get right before they went into battle, so that there would be no problems of agunas. And so here, this is a reference that's what he did to make sure that all of the soldiers and their wives and their lives would be accounted for. And Shaul and his brothers, they're waging war against the Plishtim, and so that morning, early in the morning, Vayeshkem David HaBoker, we know he's in good standing. There are many, many very important people. Vayeshkem HaBoker, Avraham, especially whenever you really care about something, you wake up early, you get it done as early as possible. It shows the care and the compassion. And what does he do? He leaves somebody else in charge of his flock. He takes all the provisions. He goes to the army, and he's trying to get to those battle lines. And it's a major battle. And he runs towards the battle line. He's not afraid whatsoever. You don't sense any fear. And he goes to greet his brothers. Now, interestingly enough, while he's talking to them, Goliath steps forward, and he's speaking at the same time that David's speaking, and David hears him. And, that's where David hears that he's taunting the Bnei Israel. He's trying to, he's goading everyone on. He wants someone to fight, and everybody is so afraid. and they're seeing, this is terrible. And he hears what the Bnei Israel are saying one to each other. Oh, did you see that man coming out? He wants to fight with the Bnei Israel. And what does it say? B'haya ha'ish asher yakenu ya'ashrenu hamelach osher gadol. Whoever kills him is going to be rewarded with great riches. And the epito yitin lo, and he will be given his wife, his daughter, as a wife. The esbeis aviv yaseh chavshi b'Yisrael, and the house of his father won't have any taxes. Now David starts to think to himself, oh, wait, maybe this is my situation here. Maybe, just maybe, you know what might happen? Maybe this is what the Hashem's way of getting me into the Malchus, so it won't be bad against Shaul. It'll just be a natural progression. Like, this could work. And so, he starts to ask around. So, what's going to be done? Like, what's going to happen to the person who kills the Plishti and removes this disgrace for Israel? And the troops tell him, yeah, you heard correctly. That's exactly what's going to be done. This is what's going to be done. Right? And so, wow, this is a win-win. He's thinking, maybe I'm here for a reason. Maybe I'm helping my brothers, but at the same time, maybe I could do a little bit more. This might actually work in accordance with the plan of how I'm going to get well in with Shaul's kingship in a safe and healthy way. Now, Eliav, his brother, who's his older brother, the oldest of all the brothers, who he said he's got an anger management problem. Vayichar af Eliav, he gets angry. And he says, how could you come here? Are you insane? Who did you leave with your little sheep? This is just ridiculous. You came to watch the fight? Like, that is just rude, not helpful. And he starts yelling at him. Now, here's another life lesson. David has every right to yell back. Stop telling me what to do, older brother. But does he do that? Of course not, because he's David HaMelech. And he says, Ma'asiti ata halota barhu. What have I done? Like, okay, I'll back away. Did I do anything wrong to you? And he talks to him much more calmly. Now, on the one hand, you could say, yeah, because he's David HaMelech, so of course he's going to be able to talk calmly. But what did we learn about David in the prior Perek? David he's got a red personality. He has the fight within him. He has it more than anyone else. When he talks about how to curb one's impulses and how to deal with anger, when he talks about the emotionality that we know will come in Mirz Hashem when we discuss the Tehillim, you have to understand that he is an emotionally very, very deep person with a lot of emotionality, and that anger was bubbling. For sure, he felt like going for the jugular because he is a red personality, but he doesn't do that. He curbs it. Why? Because he's on a mission, l'shem shamayim. His whole life, all of our lives are just on a mission, l'shem shamayim. And so he asked the same question. The troops give him the same answer, and people are starting to wonder, who is this guy? Why is he asking so many questions? And it's brought to the attention of Shaul. And David says to Shaul, I'm going to be the one. No problem. Al yipol levad zamalav avdecha yilech minachim and plishti hazeh. Don't even think about it anymore. I'm going to be the one. I will fight against the plishti. And Shaul says, okay, but you're only a boy. Nice try, little boy. Ki na'ar ata. You're just a boy. You are in the position of growth because you're a na'ar, but you're not a leader. Behu ish malchama min urav. He's been this way, like he's been practicing this role for a really long time. Now maybe there is a little bit of nevuah there. Maybe Shaul is saying, you're new at this leadership thing. This guy's been a leader. He has a lot, in his favor. And what is it that is in his favor? Well, we know from Chazal that not only was he able to stand those 40 moments, but he also had another, and those the steps that were taken by Orpah. She was promised to have 4 giants with real stability and real capability. And so he really he was born in a mazel tov position. We also know, and Shaul was the one who took perhaps the luchos away from him when the Aron was stolen. So Shaul knows exactly how strong this guy is. And David says, no. It's you don't understand. Like, I could totally do it, because once upon a time, a bear came and an animal came, a lion, and good news, I was able to beat them. So like, I helped my flock, so I can help it now. What in the world? He is saying that, because I once fought against a bear and a lion, I can fight against this guy. But really, he's going deeper, because Goliath was compared to a dog. And he's saying we're not built the same. We're above the animals. We're above all physicality. This is a Hashem who created all nature. Everything's exactly the same. If I could be successful naturally over here, then the truth of the matter is I could be successfully naturally anywhere. And just like I was able to strike down and kill it then, I could strike down and kill anybody. So yeah, I'm good. I have to do this to fight for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then he says, but don't think that it's me, because Vayomer David Hashem Asher Hitzilani Miyad Ari. No. Let me recap and just tell you, it's not my handiwork. It's all Hashem. Hashem who saved me then is the Hashem who's going to save me Miyad Plishti. And Shaul can't argue with that. He sees that there is something very special, and he sees, he's on the down, but he says, Leich v'Hashem yeh imach, and go, may Hashem be with you. And when he's saying that, he also taps into the idea he's a big gadol, and so we have that a tzaddik is gozer and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mekayim. Shaul is not able on his own accord to fight this battle, but he can certainly give a bracha so that David can. And that's exact. And he goes further. He then gives David his coat, the very special coat, the coat that otherwise should not have fit. And David puts it on and it fits him. And the helmet fits him. And that is a big niece, because think about it. Shaul was very tall and very built and and David was small in stature, and certainly not by natural terms able to, but it fit. Now when it started to fit and he started to take everything, David says to Shaul, no, I'm not, lo uchal alecha ba'ila, ki lo nasati v'yisrim David malav. He starts to give excuses. Nah, I'm not used to it, I can't wear them, and he takes them off. Because he highlighted in that moment that he was going to be the next leader. It was a miracle. And he was able to wear the royal garments. And Shaul started to get suspicious. And so he quickly took it off in the hopes that Shaul wouldn't really recognize what had just happened. Vayikach maklo biyado, and he takes a stick. What makel is that? What stick did he take? He took the stick, the mata that was given from Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, and ultimately Mashiach. And he takes 5 stones representing the Torah. The Torah in its entirety will be the thing that will be the ultimate defense and defender, and will ultimately defeat the enemy. And he takes it in his hands and he goes up to meet the Plishti. And what ultimately happens is when the Plishti starts to see this little boy who's not even dressed in armor coming towards him, Admoni im yafeh mar'eh. He saw what everyone else sees, which is there's something that is very pleasing to the eye. He sees that there is something holy around him, and he gets very upset. Am I a dog? Remember, David considered him a dog. He put him in the category of a lion and a bear. Akelav anochi ki ata ba'elai b'maklot. You come to me with a stick? You think that stick is going to help you? That stick is archaic. That stick was only there for Moshe, Aaron in the past. You are not one of those people. And he curses David. Ultimately, Shaul says, Goliath says, come here. That's not bisarcha la'op hashamayim ulvei matzah sadeh. He sticks with this animal imagery. He says, yeah, I'm going to be able to give your flesh to the birds and to the beasts of the field. You and your Hashem, you are not in control of this world anymore. This time has come and I will defeat you. And that's when David says, oh, really? You think that the time's come, the physicality and brute and obvious strength and concrete is what it's all about? Ata be'elai b'cheru u'b'chanis u'b'chidon. You came to me with all of these weapons, ba'anochi, but me, I have Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I have the Luchos, I have the Torah, I can come to you, b'shem Hashem Tzvakos, I come with you with the name of Hashem. And that is the ultimate. And that's what's going to happen. And today, Hashem is going to deliver you in my hands. I will kill you, and I will cut off your head, and I will give it to the Machane and La'ov Hashamayim B'chayas Ha'aretz. You're comparing what you think is going to happen. Well, you know what? Nature will get involved. It will eat you. And all the world, V'yidu kol ha'aretz ki yesh Elokim liYisrael. And I'm going to be making a Kiddush Hashem. Everyone's going to know that ultimately that Hashem is the Hashem of Israel and of the world and controls everything. And they're going to know, Ki lo b'cher v'chanit yoshia Hashem. This will be a representation of what we have been saying all along in our emunah, which is that it's not the weapons. Ki la Hashem ha-milchama v'natzan aschem b'yadinu. Ultimately, in all battles, in all centuries, in all times, it is Hashem who delivers the enemy. It is not the Iron Dome. It is not the IDF. It is not Donald Trump. It is not anything except Hashem. When Hashem wants something to be true, that is life lesson. It will come happen and it will be true. And that's exactly what happens. The Plishti comes. He takes steps towards David. David runs up in the battle to face the Plishti. He is ready. He puts his hand in his bag. He takes out a stone. He slings it. And lo and behold, first shot, he hits the Plishti in the forehead. That same head that looked up for just one moment when he was describing, oh yes, what will be about the birds in the sky? Well, that stone sank right into the little tiny hole in his armor. A big miracle, and he falls face down to the ground. Now, why is that significant? Because if you get hit by a rock, you fall backwards, you don't fall forward. It would make no sense gravity-wise that he would be falling forward. But here we have another life lesson, which is that Hashem doesn't just give us, but he gives us kindly and mercifully and sweetly. Just like he saved Yosef and he put him in the pit with sweet-smelling the people that were transported him were the ones that were selling incense. So too here. It would be easier for David if he's going to cut off the guy's head. Why should he have to walk all those feet away? If he falls forward, he can just cut him off right there. And that's exactly what happens. And so he strikes him down, and ultimately he was killed. And David doesn't have a sword, so he has to take the sword and he cuts off the guy's head. And the Plishtim see that they have a dead Goliath, and they start to run. And everybody, oh my gosh, the men Yisrael are now on a rampage, and they're pursuing the Plishtim, and the Plishtim fall mightily and heavily. And afterwards, the Bnei Yisrael, they come from chasing the Plishtim, from looting their camp. David takes the head of the Plishti, he brings it to Yerushalayim, and he puts all the weapons of Goliath in his own tent. And when Shaul sees David, oh my gosh, he says to Avner, who is that guy, Avner? What do you mean, who is that guy? We know, he knows who he is. He's been the player of the harp, of the lyre for such a long time. What are you talking about? Who is this guy? But he was asking a deeper question. He wanted to find out the yichus if the guy was from Peretz, because then he knows that this is going to be the king. He has his suspicions. How could he not? The guy's amazing. He's dedicated and strong and a real warrior. And clearly he's got a lot of hidden talents. And he's also emotional and rational and level-headed and plays instruments and is just everything, a full package. So now if he comes from the right lineage, basically we're done. And so that's what he was really asking. And Abner says, I have no idea. And so he says, well, we've got to find out who that is. And Abner, but at the same time, David returns. After killing the Plishti, Abner takes him, brings him to Shaul with the Plishti's head, Goliath's head in his hand. And Shaul says, Ben mi'ata hana'ar, who are you, boy? Vayomer David ben Abdecha Yishai besalachmi. And David just very, very nonchalantly says, oh, I'm just from, Yishai. We're your servants. Yishai is your servant. I'm your servant. We're just, very simple people. It's not David's time to be boasting. You see, another life lesson. And more ma'at ba'aseh. He really does so much and he says nothing. He is so humble and he doesn't toot his own horn. He doesn't get the plaque on the wall. And he's just doing an amazing job. Shaul knows. He's very smart. He's a Talmid Chacham. He can figure out that something's up with this boy. And he doesn't know what it is. But those uncomfortable feelings are going to play in to the rest of the story. We have the enormous power of Hashem. When Hashem wants to make miracles, they happen. They happen so effortless. And it is our job to stay strong, to be the walking Kiddush Hashem, so that the word of Hashem and the glory of Hashem and ultimately the miraculous efforts of Hashem can all come to fruition.